East Bay, what's good? So, talking about reframe the experience. Want to talk about this one day when I was in my 20s, which was like a million years ago, seems like. I'll be 34 on Wednesday, so I'm just... Did somebody say 54? I heard you. So it was around my 20s, and I wasn't really all together around that time. I was a little crazy, if everybody knew me then. A lot more confrontational than I am now. So I'm walking to the bus to get directions somewhere, because I figured a bus driver would know where it is to go. You know this city, you drive it every day. And so he's on his break, and he's reading the paper, profile pic. And I knock on his window. And he kind of huffs real loud and says, "I'm closed, man, leave me alone." Like, all right, that was a little rude, but I'm going to try again. So I knock and I smile, and I was like, "I just need directions, sir." And he huffs again and rolls his eyes. And he doesn't even look at me. He goes, "Where you need to go, man?" And I was like, "Well, could you tell me?" And he cuts me off. "No, I don't know, man. Shut up. Leave me alone." So that's when I acted a little different than how I act today. I'm not going to tell you what I said, because that's not important. I'm going to just let you know his reaction, which was to turn and put his middle finger all in my face behind the glass. Now, of course, we all get the same reaction when we get flipped off. It's like, "For real?" Which is what I said. He can tell by this time I'm getting angry, so he smiles and nods his head, which really made me mad. Which caused me to proceed to say some of the same aggressive language that I said before. By this time, I'm now realizing that I'm angry and he's in a good mood. See, what happened was he was in a bad mood. I was in a decent mood. And then I allowed him to cause us to switch moods. See, every day we have an experience that allows us to decide how we want that experience to affect us. Before I knew how clever this man was in getting us to switch experiences, I would go through life not knowing that every experience is a decision. Now, I could have laughed the whole thing off and walked away. I could have told him, "God bless you, brother," and kept it moving. But I stayed there to argue with him. And then what made me even more mad, he starts his bus while he's laughing at me, and he drives off. At least stay and argue with me a little bit. It is done unto you as you believe. Our thoughts manifest our experience. See, we all have old thoughts we are holding on to. Some are good, some aren't so good. But what I'm realizing now is there's no such thing as a good experience. There's no such thing as a bad experience. But what we do get is an experience. From that experience, we as humans get to decide what experience we want to have. And so, in the past, I used to hold on to experiences that didn't serve me anymore. I'd keep rewinding that tape, keep on seeing it day and day again, and I'm realizing that a lot of my life, I was having the same day every morning, holding on to yesterday for the next 8 years. Ian Van Zant talks about how life is often like a marathon. Now, we all go at our own pace, and winning the race isn't really what matters. It's finishing it that matters. And while we're along that race, a lot of us run into obstacles, hurdles and potholes, and then there's that bump that we run into. Now, what the determined racers do when they fall down at that bump, they dust themselves off, they get up and they keep running. But then there's those other guys, right? They fall down at the bump, and some might yell at the bump for a little bit before they turn around and keep racing. Some might fall down at the bump and try to find someone else to talk about, like, you see that bump right there? And then here's what's real cool. Then we get people who collectively start a club about the bump and just complain about the bump all day while everybody is racing by them. Now, we all ran into the same bump. We all fell, but everyone has a different reaction. Everyone is deciding to do something different about the bump. We all saw Groundhog Day, so we don't even got to go there. But how many of us have allowed ourselves to live the same experience every day, playing that same tape that doesn't even serve us anymore? I've done that for so long in my life, complaining about the bump, calling my aunts and uncles, crying about the same thing. I know they probably avoided my calls as much as they could. So now that I know, our thoughts manifest our experience. This is how we continue to consciously monitor what we are putting into our thoughts. See, the things we watch, the things we listen to, the things we read also shape how we're going to react to an experience. So had I been doing my meditations, had I been not hanging with the crowds I was hanging with when I was in my 20s, I might have been a little more peaceful to Mr. Not-So-Friendly bus driver that day. Now, we all ride AC Transit, so I'm pretty sure we can understand my frustration. Nevertheless, it's about how I react, not how they react. As we continue through life's journeys, we are going to come across these experiences, and we get to decide what it is and how it is we will react. There's always stuff that we dread doing during the day. There's always that stuff we dread during a task, a person we got to talk to, a meeting. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute and just talk about how recently I was told that some of the elders aren't so pleased with my hip-hop references. Let me just reiterate that this is the hip-hop generation we are now living in. Thank you. I'm even going to go on and make y'all a little more uncomfortable by saying, who do you think got Obama in that office? I remember the times when I would sit in these very seats and I would hear my grandmother say something that I didn't know what she was talking about. I would go ask an elder what she was talking about, and then I would educate myself on what she was talking about. Now, we have said how our young people need God in their life. We have said how our young people are not going to church as often as they should be. But if somebody is giving them references they can relate to and get them in here, then maybe something's good going on. Maybe we need to reframe our experience. So, DMX, who is a rapper, for all the ones who don't know, just like I did, maybe we can pull out a pen and pad. More talking about these tasks we hate doing. There was one morning where I didn't feel like working out. My trainer called me and said, hey, I'm working on my car. I might not be there. And I was like, in my mind, cool. I could just kick it today. Then he hits me again and was like, you know what? I'm getting my car out a lot earlier. We can still do that tonight. And I didn't call him back. I was like, I was dreading going in that day, because he pushes me to limits that I don't feel like going sometimes, which is why he's a good trainer. And then later on, this song came on that helped me feel better about these limits that I don't like going to. Now, the song is a little bit violent, but we're religious scientists, so we can see past that. Earl Simmons, a.k.a. DMX, said, I just love when a brother brings his whole crew. It's just another piece of cake for me to chew a hole through. Now, that may sound like an unpleasant thing until you look at your life and the tasks that you hate doing every day. See, if you can look at everything as a reflection of you, if you can see the God in every situation you approach, you can realize that this is just another task for you to get through. It doesn't have to be a violent message if you can see the God in the message. Guess what? There's God in every single message. So I'm listening to him talk about this, and I'm saying, this man is over here speaking the word right now. So that last rep that I don't feel like doing is just another piece of cake for me to chew a hole through. And we all love cake, don't we? So when I find myself in a situation that I feel is unpleasant, I find ways to fix it. I pour love on the situation. I stand boldly in my oneness with God, and I take fear out of the equation. Once again, I used to get pulled over all the time. I used to dread the police. Now it's the other way around. They can't stand pulling me over because I have nothing to give them. They're looking for that fear. They're looking for that reaction. I'm sure it's to the point now that when they see me, they just turn around. They probably got my picture in their database like, oh, that's that dude who smiles at everybody. Let's just keep on. I try to look at an unpleasant situation more as like a transformation. See, I don't know about y'all. I can only speak about me, but it seems like I don't get my transformations unless it's an unpleasant experience. I bring that on myself, though. Y'all don't have to do that. See, when I first started working out, my friend was telling me way before he became a trainer, yeah, but what about them legs, though? I was like, legs? Homie, please, man, I'm trying to hit the beach. Ain't nobody looking at legs at the beach. Bench press after bench press, curl after curl, my knees start hurting me as the years go on. See, that's God whispering at me. It's time to do your legs, homie. But a whisper don't really affect me, so I keep on pressing on, getting bigger and bigger by the day. And then that's when I get sharp pains every now and then when I put my foot down. See, that's God using the big boy voice in me. Lou, I said do something about them legs. I'm like, man, whatever, man, I got it. So one day, it's raining, right? And I'm trying to get to my car. I got my Timbs on. Those are Timberlands, by the way, boots. I got my Timbs on, and I'm trying to run to the car like I did back in the day with my Timbs on. And I take off running. Now, I don't fall, but for some reason, the boots are so heavy that now my leg is hurting all day. And I'm limping all day because I tried to run in my Timbs. That's the I told you so moment that me and God share all the time. And I'll be like, all right, all right. And that's my trainer now telling me, you've been working your upper body up so long that your foundation is weak. See, we like to build houses with our dreams. We like to build our dreams, and it always looks like some kind of structure to us. But oftentimes, we build these structures out of ego. Sometimes we build them out of fear. And all of those are rocky things to build a house with. And so finally, we tap out and we say, you know what, God, you're right. I need you to help me make this structure strong again. But we always forget what that means when we say it, don't we? Because, see, when God rebuilds something, God rebuilds something. So in come the bulldozers. And everything is falling, and you crying, and you screaming, and you can't stand the sight of this beautiful house that you done built. But we're talking about a transformation process. We're talking about reframing the experience. And we allow the transformation to begin. That foundation has to be tough so the house can stand. See, the foundation is principle. The foundation is God, not a flat screen, not a new car, not no rims. The foundation is pure love for self and seeing everyone outside of you as an extension as well. And so finally, this beautiful structure built by God is now risen in our lives, and we're like, wow, okay, you got some skills, don't you? But we had to go through that hurt first. We had to watch it crumble before us. But instead of dreading the day that you saw that house fall, why don't you give thanks for it? Why don't we stop cursing the day that we saw our structure fall and taking that with us every day? I want to talk about a story when I was in junior high. We had moved from Oakland to Pittsburgh to live with our dad. If y'all don't know the history, a lot of Pittsburgh dudes didn't really like Oakland dudes. Me and my friend were the only two dudes from Oakland at that school, so we pretty much had to either fight or run every day. So we went to the school dance, we kicked it for a while, and we decided we're going to leave, and these dudes see us. Well, as we walking away, they're like, Corey, Luchan, hold up. And that's when I told them, look, let's get out of here. It's finna be something going on. This dude wants to kick it. I'm sleeping at his house, so I can't leave him. So we go back. But, I wasn't the size I am now, so I'm being very timid because you can't be short and skinny and kick it, right? Out of nowhere, I hear something that sounds like a clap. And I turn around and my homeboy is holding his face and everyone around him is laughing. We finna get jumped, y'all. And my heart is racing. My heart says stay and help your friend, but I'm scared. And as soon as I go and try to help my friend, everyone leaves him and starts running after me, which I knew was going to happen because they hated me more than him. And I take off running. Nothing happens to me, and my homeboy is swollen, eyes all closed. He's fine. Now, we laugh about it all the time. But that was kind of mean. I know I shouldn't have did. My humor doesn't affect everybody the same way. I got to remember that. The next day at school is how Luchan ran and how Luchan's a punk, and I took that with me for so long. I wanted to make sure that nobody ever call me a punk again. And so I found myself being serious for a lot of my childhood because of an experience that nobody else knew about. You couldn't even play with me. I would lunge at you quickly for no reason. Losing friends in the whole nine because I'm carrying something with me that nobody else knows about. But now I look back on my life. That experience caused me to be more cautious. That experience caused me to train and do things so I would feel confident when I left the house. So if I like who I am today, if I really truly love who I am today, then how can I be mad at experience like that, which is what shaped me today? That's the transformation I'm talking about. Now, to me, life is sort of like a contradiction, if you will. It's like a gift and a curse at the same time. Now, this is my philosophy, but this is Science of Mind, and we're very open, so I can share that with you. See, we get to decide whatever it is. So for one person, it could definitely be a gift. And for that other person, it could be a curse. It's all in what decision you want to make. Back to hip hop. Jay-Z put out an album called The Blueprint 2, The Gift and the Curse. Now, on one CD, he talks about the life and how great it is to be him and how much he loves the life he is living. And on the second disc, he talks about how people hate on him and how girls is after his money and his friends who died in the game. But he's giving us two experiences. See, it's important to know both those sides so that you can then decide which side you'd like to be on. I'm tired of walking around with regrets. I'm tired of waking up in the morning saying, oh, God, it's morning. I am now ready to welcome those old thoughts that shape me and who I am. The need for having a bad experience no longer plagues me. I look at it as an experience. Now, one thing that is good is I remember when I found out I was about to be a father. I remember how frightened I was. I remember how scared and how nothing made sense. And then I remember my uncle and all the other seasoned fathers at his church laughing at me all the time when they saw me. I didn't get that at first. Now I get to see new fathers who have the same look on their face. And I get to laugh because I know what that feels like. See, I had to pay my dues in order to get that. I had to go through my transformation experience. And I must tell you, it feels really good to be able to laugh at that. Because what that laugh is an aha, it's everything's gonna be all right and you don't even know it. That's that knowingness, that's that oneness with God. See, dark humor is really for people who have survived dark experiences. That's all it is. So the people who are offended by my humor, just, stretch your comfort zone a little bit. You'll get my jokes in a minute. To reframe the experience, we must allow ourselves to be flexible, especially in thought. A lot of us are disappointed because we come into an experience with a preconceived notion of how it's supposed to look. But it never goes that way. We have to allow ourselves to know that God is all there is, each and every bit of it. So that obstacle you run into is part of your experience. So welcome it, love it. It's just another piece of cake for you to chew a hole through. It's only a failure when you stop going at it. That's the only time you can call it a failure. Now, if you try it and decide it's not really what your soul wants, then it's not a failure. But if you know in your heart that this is what you want, get off the ground and keep going at it. Every time you get knocked down, push yourself back up. Now, since I'm a gym rat, and I see some of my fellow gym rats in here, I just like to say that that's really all a push-up is falling down and getting back up. All of us want the arms, but not all of us want to get down on that ground, now do we? When we start building a house that's unstable and ask God to build it back up, we have to allow it to get knocked down first. Let's welcome that. Let's know that no matter what it is that's going on, God is all there is. Now, we just said, I saw all of you stand up and said, past experiences don't have power over me. Yes, you did. All of you did it. I heard you. But really think about what we're saying here. That time where you got your heart broke. That time where you got in a fight and lost. That time where you got pulled over and got treated really harshly. Those experiences have no power over you, and they're in the past. Whatever the lesson was, let's welcome it. Let's bless that experience so that we can live freely in the now. There is only now. Now, a lot of us like to live in the past, whether you're angry at it or whether you feel all your glory is back there. A lot of us live too far in the future. That's usually me. That's usually where I like to hang out at. But nothing can happen in either one of those realms. Right now is what's going on. Right now is the only time we have. Time is a human concept. There is only now in God. That's why I no longer allow myself to worry about things like Palestine and racism and killer cops. And I know that it always has to get ugly before we see the victory. How else are we going to want to change it? See, the pain has to get your attention first. We've been saying we want world peace. We've been saying we want the environment to be better. Something has to shake us first in order for us to get the fire in our hearts to change that. Or else we're just going to keep on walking by saying, well, it's not my business. But once we feel shook, once we feel compelled enough, once we feel touched by what's going on, something beautiful always comes out of it. That's what Selma was about. People being tired of seeing what they're seeing and deciding that I have power, that God is the only power in my life, and people came together. All colors, all different backgrounds. That's God right there, y'all. That's how one person who feels the God in them can change an entire country, planet. That's really where the analogy of the princess and the frog came. she gets this frog for a prince, and, she's like, what is this? And the frog is ugly and smells bad. And finally, she breaks down, and she has this relationship with the frog to where she can actually give the frog a kiss and accept it as an extension of her. And once she does that, we already know what the rest is. I'm not really going to say what the ending is because I feel like my street cred is going down by talking about Princess and the Frog. A lot of my homies are here and they looking at me like, bruh, really? And so since I don't know how to explain that, I'm going to just keep it moving. I finally accepted who I am. I finally accepted my calling as a speaker or a minister, what have you. I'm finally learning that I can't fight it. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Like, I knew all along. I just wanted to do stuff before I got there, Like, my whole struggle, look, I'm going to just tell you. I've always wanted to be cool. That's all. That's all I've ever wanted. And I'm not. And it's not finna happen. And I'm okay with that. That's all I wanted, And I've tried. And, I'm cool in certain situations, but you step out that situation, I ain't cool. I was that kid who, people liked me and they'd invite me to come hang out, but I was like, the music I would listen to was always different, and I'd wear the same outfit, but it would always be different on me. I was just weird. I don't know. So I've accepted being a weirdo. Yeah, right? I've accepted that what my idea of cool is fine. I don't have to have the latest Jordans on. I don't have to participate in the same activities because what I'm feeling about myself is pure love, and that's okay. This is for that kid who couldn't find a date. See, this is for that kid with the slight overbite, the annoying voice to go with it. This is for that kid who would collect insects. This is for that kid who got invited to the house party but would rather stay home and listen to the wake-up show with Tech and Sway instead. This is for that kid who, not me, but a lot of my friends did, ate paste and sand at times. I know some of y'all are here, don't hide, let that out. And lastly, this is for that kid who was so weird that he felt comfortable praying in front of everybody, that he would meditate at times where most people weren't used to seeing that he would sit there and allow God to speak to him at times that were convenient. This is for that kid. Now, we're talking about reframing. There was a time when me and my crew, when we were still doing music together, we made this song and it got famous on everybody's mixtape. And it made it to this magazine called Herb Magazine. Like Herb, I know y'all seen it before. So we're in Herb Magazine and they're interviewing us about the song. Well, the song was my idea. And I told it to my friend, and the very next day he had a beat and a chorus for it. So even though he didn't technically steal my idea, he did kind of damage it a little bit. And so I'm looking at this magazine and I'm reading a lot of the answers, and he's talking about the song like it was his idea. And that really hurt me. And I really didn't allow myself to appreciate the accomplishment of being in this magazine that I've been reading forever. My girlfriend at the time decided to take the clippings of the magazine and frame it for me. And I was just looking at that the other day saying, wow. See, you can get a masterpiece. Somebody can draw you a picture, a portrait, whatever, and it'll be beautiful. But when you put a frame on it, it's a whole nother picture. You can hang it up. It's protected. There's a glow on it now. But then when you take it and you put a real frame on it, now you have a masterpiece hanging in your house. Jay-Z said, it's the last one, I promise. There's no platinum in them Cartiers, switch your frames. There's no manicured on board, then switch your plane. See, what we got to do now is take off the frames that no longer serve us and put some real ones on. If we really want to see a golden picture in front of us, we have to put a real frame on the picture. Thank you, East Bay.